Okay, what's next on the agenda there, son?
All right. Perfect time. Obviously, you saw the Go to Broad Street list, and you agree with me that it was a terrible list. And just letting the listeners know, the Go to Broad Street is a fan made list of the top 20 Philadelphia sports athletes over the last 50 years. So if you don't hear like Concrete Charlie or all of them, I'm like, it's the last 50 years. So me and my dad heavily disagree with the list, mainly because, number one, one of my favorite Philadelphia icons and players all the time, Allen Iverson, is ranked number one of all time. We disagree. Number two, followed by Mike Schmidt, Reggie White, Brian Dawkins, Chase Utley, Bobby Clark, Dr. J, Steve Carlton. Nick Foles is number 9. See what they did there. Bernie Parent, number 10. Donovan McNabb, 11. Charles Barkley, 12. Joe Frazier, 13. Eric Lindros, 14. Jimmy Rollins, 15. Randall, 16. Moses Malone, 17. Ryan Howard, 18. Cole Hamels, 19. And Jason Peters is 20. So what we're going to be doing for the next 45 minutes, and once again, you're listening to Uptown Radio, WJYN 98.5, we are going to do our very best to come to, a middle ground to try to revise this list. So, first off, what is your big discrepancies about this list, besides, the obvious number one?
Much as I respect AI, you can't be the Go to Broad Street if you haven't won a championship. I mean, that's bottom line. That's the bottom line. Okay. I respect Allen Iverson. He put it all there on the court. He was phenomenal talent. He revitalized basketball in the city. But no.
Okay. So if you had to, revise the list, like where would you put Iverson at?
He'd still be in the top 5.
Okay.
But Go to Broad Street, I mean, I would definitely put, it'll be either Mike Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
First three, Mike Schmidt,
mm-hmm.
number 1. Bobby Clark, number 2. The Flyers won the championships back-to-back years under his leadership. Mm-hmm. He was unquestionably leader of that team.
Okay.
Number 3, Dr. J, Julius Erving, because let's face it, when the Sixers traded for him from the Nets for cash and everything, that was like, one of the biggest heists in NBA history. Because Doc brought charisma, he brought class, he brought intensity to the Philadelphia 76ers,
mm-hmm.
along with the rest of that squad, Mo Cheeks, Moses, without question. Number 4.
Reggie White? Or
Number 4, I'd say, even though he didn't win a championship, I'd say B. Doc, because B. Doc had a longer tenure here. Reggie White was here, not through his own fault. He left as a free agent, he won a championship in Green Bay. But still, he was the Minister of Defense. And that defense was legendary. So I put Reggie 5. That gangrene defense. If Buddy Ryan had paid a little bit more attention to his offense and defense and everything, we'd have had at least one Super Bowl with that team. So.
Okay. So, you have Schmidt 1, Bobby Clark 2, Dr. J 3, Dawkins 4, and Iverson 5?
No, Reggie White 5.
Oh, Reggie White 5. Okay. So then, Iverson would be 6 then?
I'll put Bubba Chuck 6.
Okay.
And no disrespect to Iverson, but had he refined his game, he was all heart, he was amazing talent. But had he refined his game, he could have been even better. And had he, paid more attention to his, condition and everything, his career would have lasted a whole lot longer.
Yeah, that's true. But I also have to, once again, I default the Sixers organization a little bit on that, because after that 2001 team, they did nothing to, build up on that. Because when you look at that 2001 team, in hindsight, everybody likes to chalk it up, saying listen, they had the Defensive Player of the Year, Dikembe Mutombo, 6-year Man of the Year, Aaron McKee, Coach of the Year, Larry Brown. I watched that NBA Finals, all 5 games between them and the LA Lakers, and I don't know how we won Game 1. like rewatching that game because Iverson played every single minute of that NBA Finals, which I believe, except for like 2 minutes, and I believe that was all in Game 1. He played every single second. He had to match, the scoring output of Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. He kept getting hacked by Tyronn Lue. He kept getting switched by, Tyronn Lue and Kobe Bryant, and he got no help on the offensive end. Dikembe Mutombo was absolutely, 34 years old, run down. And the only reason why we got him is because Theo Ratliff got hurt. George Lidge missed most of the series, and they just didn't have a compatible number 2 option to go alongside, Iverson. And when you thought we did with Paul Pierce, Larry Brown made that promise to draft Larry Hughes instead. So it just once again shows that, the Sixers are.
And they also passed on drinking whiskey, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So let's go a little further down the list.
Okay.
Moses Malone.
Okay. I'll agree with that.
Because Moses was, at his prime, he was a beast. Okay, he was the only center at that time that could take on guys like Robert Parrish, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and at that time the league was littered with that was back when the league had more emphasis on centers and defense.
Yeah.
And
3-time MVP, right?
3-time NBA MVP, no question. Okay, and I know I'm going to catch heat for it, but for everybody out there that thinks Joel Embiid is better than Moses Malone, let me tell you something. Moses Malone was in his mid-30s, averaging 19 points and 11 rebounds a night. Okay, and he brought his lunch pail with him to work every day. He didn't, that was before they had was it rest breaks or load management, all that.
Yeah, load management.
So it's not even a question.
Okay, so we got Moses at 7, 8.
Who do we have listed as 8?
They got Steve Carlton at 8.
You know what, Lefty? I think that's about fair.
Okay.
Because at Steve Carlton's prime, he was just filthy McNasty on the ground, on the mound. Sorry. And that was the old days where pitchers would actually pitch like 9 innings. Okay, they didn't have load management. Pitcher come in, one pitcher would pitch back to back complete games, and you'd have 87 pitchers coming in to manage 1 inning. Who do they have listed as 9?
Nick Foles.
Still a little too high.
Yeah, we're going to move Nick down. Listen, I understand you have the most important, championship trophy in Philadelphia history, but we got to move you down with it. So after that, it's Bernie Perrin at 10.
Yep. Hey, I'll go with that because Bernie was the mainstay of the Flyers team. They would not have won those 2 Stanley Cups without him.
Mm-hmm. And 11 is Donovan McNabb.
Well, yeah, that's about right. Because for all his all this talking that got him in trouble and everything, and him being disingenuous and everything, when he was on point, he was a damn good quarterback. And I'll still never forget the game where he threw 4 touchdowns on a broken ankle.
Mm-hmm. All right. Can I make a counterpoint for who should be number 11 then?
Who should be number 11?
J-Roll.
I forgot about J-Roll.
Listen, because I feel like... Listen, I think they got the 4 right Phillies on the modern era Phillies Utley, Rollins, Howard, and Cole. But I think out of all the 4 that should be ranked between the highest, I think Rollins should be the highest of that 4. Former league MVP, multiple time Golden Glover. He was the guy that got us started. He says we are the team to beat. And when you look at his ability, not only just his ability as a leadoff hitter. He was one of, very few MVPs that actually came through the city. He was one of the driving forces. I will even say he was the heart of that 08 Phillies team. So, if anything, I would give J-Roll 11.
You know what? You're absolutely right about that. J-Roll brought the swagger and the attitude to the team because Ryan Howard was more laid back, and don't take this wrong way, Chase. Chase was more the face, the pretty boy. The girls love this one and everything.
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from Chase's ability, because Chase, and Chase was in their prime.
Yeah. When
Chase,
his knees was fine,
man, he was the best second baseman in baseball.
Yeah.
Without question. So I guess that knocks down to 12.
Yeah, J-Roll. Wait, hold on. Foles was 9. We bumped him. So Bernie was 9, and J-Roll is 10. So 11. We're gonna go McNabb. I've gone sour over the years with Donovan McNabb, but still the best quarterback in franchise history. So Donovan, you're number 11. Still a little salty about how the way him and T.O. kind of fizzled out of Philly, but I can't knock your accomplishments. You as much as an important cog in the machine during those early 2000 runs, to the playoffs and eventually that Super Bowl as much as Andy Reid was.
True. Next, I had to say the big piece, Ryan Howard. My favorite Philly of all time.
He was the engine of that run. 58 home runs one year, And I always wonder, if he never blew his Achilles out during that game against the Cardinals, he would have been on pace to have at least 450 home runs of his career.
Well, it's unfortunate that happened.
Yeah.
But Ryan Howard, he was the engine that made the machine run.
Yeah. So let's see who we got left. Okay. So Ryan Howard's 12. We got Charles Barkley left, Joe Frazier, Eric Lindros, Chase Utley.
You know what? Slide in Joe Frazier.
Yeah, 13. 13 on this. He was 13 on the GOAT list. Now he's still 13 here.
Yeah, because Joe Frazier, to do what he did, winning the heavyweight championship from Muhammad Ali, it wasn't Ali at the top of his game because Ali had been away for a little bit, because of they stripped him of the title, with him refusing to go into the draft. So I'll give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
He had to overcome a lot because Ali was the flashier fighter.
All right, so we got Joe Smoking Joe at 13, 14. Right, let's see who's left.
And I also met him when I worked at Rite Aid right down the street, back in 2000. And I gotta say, that man's hands were enormous, and it was like they were made of granite.
Nice guy.
When he came in, I think he came from, partying a little bit and everything. He was dressed to the nines. He was styling and profiling, but he was just a little like, So I think he was out partying with some of his friends, So no disrespect and everything, but he was dressed sharp, He was dressed sharp in his suit and everything. He came in to get some batteries, and see, that was the day before, I had I had a real cell phone and everything. I couldn't get a picture with him.
Yeah.
But he was really nice. He was really friendly. He stayed for a little while. Talking some stories and everything. But Joe Frazier's a Philadelphia icon, and I'm mad at the city. I'll never forgive the city for not preserving his gym as a city monument and letting it turn into a furniture store. That disgusts me.
I didn't know about that, man. That's. So anyway, all right, let's see. So 14. All right, let's see. We got Joe at 13. Let's see who we got left. Chase is still left. Nick is left. Jason Peters is still there. Cole is still there. Randall and Lindros.
I'll put Chase next.
Okay.
He did win a championship, as we said. He was the best first baseman in Philadelphia. Second baseman in baseball.
Okay.
He, J-Roll, and Big Piece were triplets.
Yeah.
His fielding was out of this world.
So 15. Let's see. Lindros at 15.
Who do we have left?
We got Lindros. We got Lindros, Randall, Hamels, Peters, and Foles. We could do honorable mentions as well.
You know what? I'm going with Cole.
Okay.
Because Cole won a championship. Championship year, Cole was mowing him down.
Yep. World Series and NLCS MVP.
Precisely. All right, next.
You also can't forget, his last start here where he pitched I believe a no-hitter, correct?
Did he? Wow.
Yeah, I remember that game. He pitched a no-hitter against the Chicago Cubs in Wrigley Field, and right after that, he was traded to the Texas Rangers, I believe, a week right before the deadline. I remember because his last out was, a fly ball to center field, and Odubel Herrera, when he was still here, he had to make that. He did what Odubel Herrera does. He makes an out a lot more difficult than what he is, but he still made it.
Of course. Okay, next on the list, I'd say Lindros, because at the time he was a top player in hockey, but his family's feud with Bobby Clark and him getting hurt, that kind of damages his legacy a little bit. Because I remember everything that the Flyers gave up to get him, and really, truthfully, and I'll say this to my dying day, had the Flyers kept what they had, as far as Peter Forsberg and all those players and all those draft picks and everything, the Flyers could have already had a couple of championships. As time went on, you saw what Peter Forsberg did for Colorado, the Quebec Nordiques, which eventually became the Colorado Avalanche, and they won with basically everything the Flyers gave them. To this day, I understand, trading for a franchise-altering player and everything, but they gave up way too much players, draft picks, and $15 million. But what do I know?
Yeah. Do you think Claude Giroux should be on this list?
A little further down.
Okay. All right. So 17. Let's see who we have left. We have Charles, Nick, Jason Peters, and Randall Cunningham left.
You know what? I'm gonna go Charles. The round mound and rebound.
One of the best nicknames ever.
Sir Charles. One of my favorite Sixers ever. Because I remember distinctly. Because you may be too young to remember. The Sixers had a general manager named Pat Williams that helped them build a team that won the '83 championship. Okay. Pat Williams had accepted a job with the Orlando Magic. All right. But he left the Sixers in a unique position. He left them with a lot of high draft picks and a lot of good players. All right. Had the Sixers utilized those resources properly, they would have won at least one more championship. Because you think about it, Dr. J was, still a good player. Charles Barkley was coming to his own. Moses Malone was still a beast, and Mo Cheeks was still, very serviceable. Okay. They traded the number one pick, which would have been Brad Daugherty. Black Wednesday. I'll never forget Black Wednesday, 1986, for Roy Hinton. After Harold Katz, tried him out in his driveway. Always too soft. Then I'll never forget, and to this day, I still think Harold Katz was off his medication, or was taking the wrong medication, or he was someplace else. I don't know. But he traded Moses Malone, Terry Catledge, who was a productive bench player for the Sixers and everything. He scored in bunches. To the Washington, and 2 number one draft picks to the Washington Bullets at the time. For Cliff Robinson and Jeff Rulin. And all 3 of those guys, Robinson, Rulin, and Henson, they're all injury prone. They all had knee problems. Okay? Jeff Rulin didn't play like a complete game for years and everything. By the time he did play, he was like, his mid-30s, and then he got taken out by a luggage cart. Dude Could you imagine the Sixers team with Dr. J, Charles Barkley, Moses Malone, Brad Daugherty, Bo Cheeks? Okay, the guys that had come off the bench like Terry Callis, Giselle Freak, who was a beast defender. Okay, and also on top of that, had Andrew Toney not gotten hurt, that was the guy that gave Larry Bird nightmares because he destroyed Boston every time. He was the guy that made Larry Bird look under his bed every night to make sure he wasn't there.
So basically, after the general manager left after in '83, they blew the team up, and Charles had nothing to work with.
It was more towards '86 because when they defended their championship the next year, they got swept out in the first round by the New Jersey Nets because they got kind of like cocky. Okay, they should have reloaded, but they didn't because Harold Katz was a horrible one.
Yeah,
he really was. Because you saw what happened when Charles Barkley had the right team around him and everything. He went to the finals.
Yeah, him and Kevin Johnson.
Kevin Johnson, Mark West.
Yeah.
You know, Dan Marley.
Yeah.
You know, but he just had the unfortunate luck to run into Michael Jordan in his prime. Yeah. And nobody was beating Jordan.
Yeah. Speaking of Jordan, did you get a chance to watch that Last Dance documentary?
All I got to say is this. Ain't no way in hell whether it's Michael Jordan, Barack Obama, Moses himself, Moses of Nazareth himself. You're not telling me I'm not eating. I wish somebody would. Oh yeah, he don't get no food tonight. What? You say what? You say what?
Oh man, that was Horace's grand problem.
Yeah, well, Hart should have said something and stepped up. Cause like I said, ain't no way.
No, I just thought it was funny that, like, the fact that I'm just, watching, all of this and just watching this, and then I just watch every single time, like, when Michael Jordan, like, brings, a new opponent up or, like, his owner up about, like, liking somebody, and the only reason why he went off for 60 is to make a statement on him. And I'm like, so I took this person, I'm like, he looked for any single reason, like, make anything personal. And this is like the funniest like documentary, but also at the same time I'm like, this is actually pretty cool, because the way one of my favorite segments was watching Dennis Rodman break down about like how he would go about getting a rebound, about like him getting at specific angles to make sure that he was in the best possible position, him making sure that the defender had no chance of getting a rebound from him. So I thought Rodman, for like all his crazies and like for all his theatrics. His ability, and basketball IQ just to break down something like that was something impressive to watch.
Well, Dennis Rodman is one of those guys that you hate to play against, but you want him on your team.
Yeah.
Okay. Seriously. Because I gotta say, when he was with the Pistons, that was a perfect scenario for him because he had Chuck Daly as a father figure. Mm-hmm. And when he got traded, he no longer had that father figure.
Yeah.
And that's when he really started, wilding out. And that's why things were so bad for him in San Antonio because, San Antonio, they were really laid back, and David Robinson was the kind of guy that was going to get in your face saying, like, you're going to play as a team. So Chicago was the best place for him because you had Phil Jackson, you had Michael Jordan, and you had Scottie Pippen. They basically say, look, man, basically, this is the gravy train with biscuit wheels and everything, so don't mess it up.
Yeah. Also, one of my favorite clips was like, they let Dennis Rodman go to Vegas, and he was like, yeah, I'll be back in 48 hours. And Jordan was like, you're not getting him back in 48 hours.
Pretty much.
All right, so we got 3 more spots, 18, 19, and 20. We got Nick, we got Jason Peters, and we got Randall. All Philadelphia.
Randall. I'm always going to have a special place for Randall. Because what a lot of people don't realize about Randall, they say, he was an airhead, he was a flake, but he had so much natural God-given athletic talent. It was ridiculous. And as I alluded to before, Buddy Ryan did him a real disservice by not giving him, you know, an offensive line, because the reason why Randall ran so much is he was running for his life. He really didn't have a good running back for a long time. And then on top of that, you know, his receivers, you know, after Mike Quick got hurt and everything, they were just like, you know, who's who.
Yeah.
The best receiver he had was Keith Jackson, you know, his tight end, who was all-pro from, you know, to me, he was all-pro from day one. You know, but
Mike Quick was with Jaws, right?
Mike Quick was with Jaws, Ames was Randall.
Okay.
Okay. You know, Keith Jackson came in, you know, he'll stretch defenses. They, like, freed up the receivers they had, you know, guys like, you know, Greg Garrity. And he also had Chris Carter, but as you know, Chris Carter, you know, was going through, like, a lot of personal problems.
Yeah,
and they had to cut him, and, you know, he said he thanked Buddy Ryan for saving his life because that made him really get himself together, you know, and as you saw, Chris Carter and Randall, you know, reunited in Minnesota, and there wasn't more than a missed field goal from going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, but what I tell a lot of people is, what a lot of people don't know about Randall is that he had a quarterback coach named Al Scoville, and Randall really looked up to him, and Randall looked up as a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
Scoville was supposed to get him 5 o'clock and run 2 miles. He did it. So Randall do 1,000 push-ups. Randall did it. Okay, and with that, Randall was developing into a, like, you know, better, more all-around quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, you know, early in Randall's career, you know, Scoville passed away. And Buddy never really replaced that offensive coordinator, you know, that offensive coordinator, that mentor figure for Randall, you know, the guy that was really good quarterbacks. And, you know, that was the service for Randall, like I said, also added in the fact Buddy was his whole focus was on defense.
Yeah.
He basically told Randall, go out there and make something happen with your legs. As you saw, he was plastic man, you thought you hit him, he popped back up. And he was a human highlight reel. You know, and it's a shame that, you know, things didn't work out for him here. But the thing is, Randall and Randall is more remembered fondly here, you know, because of the circumstances, you know, of, like, you know, the way he had to lead the team.
Yeah.
You know, granted, you know, he was kind of flaking out because they run a Roddy Pete, but Buddy wasted a lot of Randall's prime years.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that kind of mirrors the way Andy Reid wasted a lot of Donovan's prime years by not surrounding him with the offensive, like, you know, capabilities he could have. You saw what he got when he got T.O. Picture Randall with a receiver like T.O.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just for the record, that was your Grandma Pam's favorite Eagle of all time, because before we closed the casket, you know, gave her Randall Cunningham jersey.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah. See that, Mom? Thinking about you. Okay, so who's the last two?
Nick and Jason.
You know, The Bodyguard and Nikki Sixx. You know, I'll catch hell for it. I'm going to put The Bodyguard first.
Okay.
Because of his longevity, the way he kept the quarterback safe. Because in his prime, when we first got him and everything, he was a beast.
Yeah.
He was road great. You know, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of like a running joke right now. Where he's going to play, he's going to take us out of the game and everything. But in his prime, he was the best offensive lineman in football.
Yeah. And probably Andy Reid's, like, best trade acquisition throughout his tenure here.
You know what? Probably so. Probably so. He gave a #1 draft pick for him, and he paid immediate dividends.
Yeah.
You know, and he helped tutor some of the other younger offensive linemen. You know, granted, he's injury prone, and they still talk about bringing him back this year. But, you know, I prefer to remember how he was. You know, destroying linebackers, destroying defensive linemen, defensive ends, and everything, keeping off the quarterback's ass. Which brings us to Nikki Sixx.
Honestly, and yeah, I think 20 is perfect for him. So,
Absolutely, because what he did for Philadelphia will never be forgotten. Can never be underscored. Okay, because after that Rams game when Carson got hurt, it was doom and gloom. And he had a Kurt Warner. He basically had like a Kurt Warner in his playoffs.
yeah.
Warner, the greatest show on turf, and bam, they won the Super Bowl. You know, not saying that he was the greatest show on turf, but that year, it was lightning in the bottle, it was a perfect storm.
Yeah, everything that went right for Philadelphia that went right.
You know, absolutely. You know, they signed Alshon, they signed LeGarrette Blunt. You know, Zach Ertz and Brent Selleck were the tight ends. You know, you probably couldn't have a better tight end tandem anywhere.
Yeah.
The O line really pulled together with all the injuries, and you know they just had a double make your attitude. Like, look, you know, nobody's expecting us to do this, and you know, because once they blew out Minnesota, you know, I said, okay, you know what, I like our chance of going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you know, who can forget Philly.
Yeah. It took the greatest game of all time to beat Tom Brady that day.
Well, you know, that may be true, but y'all also had to say they underestimated us completely.
Yeah.
They really did. And because of that, you know, cocky. You know, the minute you underestimate your opponent, you've already lost.
Yeah.
Case in point, the Eagles last year at Miami. Yeah, I'm still mad about that.
I'm so mad about a lot of things, but yeah, Nick Foles is. Oh, excuse me. Nick Foles at 20 is perfect. I think out of everybody on this list, he's probably had like the least amount of starts out of all of them. The least amount of time here in Philly, but the impact is there. When he originally was drafted, I remember that 2012 draft. Obviously, you know, RG3 going number 2 overall. Washington trading all those picks to get up for him from the Rams, and you know, Andrew Luck going number 1. You know, the perfect storm for them. You know, because Andrew Luck came in, Peyton Manning went out, then Peyton Manning went to Denver. Russell Wilson was going to be, you know, Andy Reid's, you know, next project. However, Seattle jumped the gun and got Russell Wilson instead. So, and it's kind of funny. Doug Peterson was with Andy Reid when they was at Nick Foles' pro day at during Camden. So he was taken in the 3rd round, I believe 85th overall, and he started a few games here. Like obviously the biggest controversy back then, you know, when Chip Kelly came over here, was like, man, Nick Foles is on borrowed time. But then
This goes to show Chip Kelly was an
idiot, but also like he was also responsible for, you know, giving Nick Foles probably, you know, not only his best season like ever with 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, as it was for Peyton Manning to throw for 55 touchdowns. There could have been a legitimate argument that Nick probably could have been in that MVP conversation. He didn't, ended up in a Pro Bowl. But also, not only that, he gave Doug Peterson that blueprint and was like, listen, he's like, because the last 2 games going into the playoffs, Nick was terrible. He had a stinker on Christmas night against the Raiders, and he was eventually, you know, pulled from Dallas because of just poor performance. So and there was really, you know, talks of the media talking about them, like, well, maybe they should just run Nate Sudfeld instead of Nick Foles. But Doug Peterson took those 2 weeks. He even said he admitted that he went back to, you know, the 2013 season where, you know, Chip Kelly was doing all the RPO styles, the one read and throw. And then you saw in the second half against Atlanta when he was driving down the field. And then you saw in, you know, the Vikings and the Patriots game, they adopted that style. And it was all she wrote then.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back. Chip Kelly is an idiot.
Okay.
Because if you had a quarterback that has a Hall of Fame season that puts him in the Hall of Fame, you know, for passing percentage, you don't go out and trade for Sam Bradford, who stole money from the NFL for so many years. That he's like to me he's like the Bernie Madoff of pro football, stealing money. Might as well just give him a mask and might as well give him a mask and a sack. Doug Peterson and you know I'm being nice. He simplified the offense and played Nick Foles' strengths. Had Chip Kelly bothered to do that instead of running things his way all the time and everything, might have been a different outcome. But as you can see, you know, once Nick left the Eagles and he went to St. Louis and he went to Jacksonville, and now now he's with the Bears.
Yeah.
Unless you simplify the offense and tailor it to him, you know, he's not going to have much success because even in Jacksonville when he was playing, you know, he wasn't doing too hot. You know, and his biggest success is here in Philly. And you know, all in the debate, you know, we should have traded Carson and kept Nick, yada 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 yada. Carson is a better quarterback, number 1. he's more athletic. Number two, he's younger. Number three, Carson, and this will be a debate till the end of time. Carson that year before he got hurt was the leading NFL MVP candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and without him putting in position, he was in position to win. You know, so like with that record and everything, it would have made it to the playoffs to begin with. It would not have gotten to the Super Bowl to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay, he gave them a cushion. He gave them such a cushion that even when Nick played bad, lost those 2 games and everything, they were still in position to get to win the division. So, you know, nothing against Nick. I love Nicky Six. Okay, I do. He always has a place in my heart because I remember, you know, I was working at one of my bars at Kavanaugh's in South Philly, and we lost it. You know, we all lost it. I think I was wearing my Nick Foles jersey. You know, and he's always going to be, you know, he'll never have to pay for another meal in Philadelphia for the rest of his life. You know, with that being said, you know, I think him being 20 is right where he deserves to be.